This is section 6 of the SPS 6 Alabama, southbound I-59. As I already mentioned, this I think it's a milling inlay, and it's just a little thick on the edge, because as you can see at about 10 foot, 3.3 meters in, you can see the it looks like they went ahead and milled, and it's just a nice smooth finish. Of course, you know, I'm not 100% sure. We've got oops, let me zoom out. We've got gouges there. As I said, our delineators are gone, but our right-of-way sign still exists. This section was not as block cracked and fatigued as the other previous sections that we had. We do have the continuous cracking along the edge stripe and the center lane. Some of these were up of a high severity, huge loss of material, very wide cracks. We did have transverse cracking, which I'm sure is reflective cracking from the joints or along rigid patch lines. But then we also had just a few areas of where that fatigue, that network cracking kind of happens. And it doesn't always happen just in the wheel path. So most of there was some patching done, some pothole patching, but there wasn't big enough to count. This is typical transverse crack. A lot of these were 6Ms only because of the associated cracking. And some of the material was spalled. Another thing is these pop-outs. I don't know if you can see the spots, but we still have that one type of aggregate which is causing pop-outs. It's kind of a rusty color, but we've still got those. Again, an area where we've got loss of material there along the center stripe. But fairly boring, just the reflective cracking along the joints. That is pretty much this entire section. The only change is the severity level due to associated cracking. You know, we did have a few other transverse cracks that have occurred, I think, since last survey. But again, primarily just the transverse cracking occurring through this section. Again, here at 275, got associated cracking along there and some patching. Let's get up to the areas of fatigue. There were areas along the edge stripe where we had a lot of cracking going on. I attended to put that to the severity of the longitudinal crack along the center stripe. Obviously here's high severity cracking, but if it was within a foot, I associated it with the crack. There are a few parallel cracks further down this section that you'll notice in my survey, which they were just greater than a foot away, and so I counted them as two separate longitudinal cracks. It wasn't in the wheel path either, or else I would have probably considered it a fatigue cracking issue. Heck, I may have already passed the fatigue cracking that I saw in the section. Here's another ugly transverse. Typical reflective cracking. Actually, here it is. Here we've got the interconnecting cracking in the wheel path. This is around 4+75, you know, and it doesn't always connect totally, but it kind of begins and radiates out throughout the section, kind of like what it did before. There's the cracking that parallels the joint. That's greater than a foot. It's about 0.4 meters wide. Again, the fatigue and the wheel path is just this cracking here. And now we are at station 5. There's the sampling at the end of the section that was taken. You can see already settling in the patching material. It's pretty bad, actually. And that concludes this section. Our delineator's gone, as I mentioned. This is southbound I-59, section 6 of the SPS 6. And there's the sign for it. And that concludes this survey. This is section 4 of the SPS 6 Arkansas. It looks like about a 2.5 to 3 inch overlay over concrete. Don't have a ruler with me. But anyway, unpatched core hole.